What kind of a thought that would be so distressing to you?
Thoughts about the the real big one was cursing at God, because I thought that would be what is sometimes known as the unpardonable sin.
Okay.
And
like you'd imagine yourself doing that, or
I
wonder if you did it?
It was classic OCD. The idea of this would maybe enter my mind. I mean, I would be scared that it would happen, that I would have the thought. But of course, when I wasn't thinking about it, or if my mind was on something else, of course I was okay. But maybe I'd be walking into church, and after living with this fear for a while, probably every time you walk into church, you say, I am not going to let this thought come into my mind. And so you decide to fight it, but the compulsive part of the OCD kicks in, and you get a compulsion to repeat the words or whatever, or the thought, the picture, whether the thought is a word or a picture. You get a compulsion to just let that run through. Oftentimes I'd be reading books, but I would get stuck on a line or a sentence.
Like you'd be reading a sentence,
and somehow I'd feel that when I got to the end of that sentence, I hadn't really taken it in. I read the sentence, but then I thought, well, I really didn't grasp that. I better read it again. And that process got to be pretty repetitive. I would go over things many times and couldn't feel very good about continuing on until I felt right about that particular sentence. And of course that could happen 2 or 3 times on a page. But I would go to the sink to wash my hands, and I might stand there easily for 15 minutes and wash my hands without stopping, because I would just about get through washing them, and part of my hand might touch the sink, or maybe I couldn't remember whether the towel that was laying there was clean, that I had touched or something. Maybe somebody else had touched it before I did, and you don't know why they were washing their hands.
So these thoughts would come in.
Yeah, and so I would almost get through, but then something else would happen and kind of tell me, no, it's no good, you have to start over. So I'd start over again, and by the time I left work, I had washed my hands no less than maybe an hour to an hour and a half, if you take just the time I was washing my hands during the day.
In like an 8-hour work day.
Yeah, and they would
get chapped and bleed,
and I would try and kind of hide that if I'd be walking around where there was some of the other people I work with, because they might ask about it, and I'd have to, of course, having OCD, I think I was and have gotten to be a master at making up excuses for doing rituals,